Call this May 17th meeting of the Open Space and Recreation Committee to order. We'll begin with a roll call of the members present. Anne Marie Foley.
Here.
Patrick Eagle
Here.
and Shannon Phelan
Here.
and Trevor Holden. Here. And Dave Robbins is here. And as I said before we officially started the meeting, our member Stephen Crowley is at another meeting down the hall, expected back to join us soon. So on the agenda tonight, aside from, well, let me first of all officially welcome Pat. He is the Conservation Commission's representative to this committee. And very pleased to see the conservation being able to take a more active role in this committee now. Such as this committee is, and we are a committee that is tasked largely to sort of oversee the implementation of the open space and recreation plan, which means we mostly are depending on others to do all the work, and we're collecting the results. We do have a couple of missions of our own to undertake, one of which hopefully we can wrap up this evening, which is the formation of the Trails Committee. We've been kind of working that off and on for a number of months now. Just to refresh everybody's memory, we took a proposal to the select board late last year, November, December timeframe. Discussed it there. They had a number of suggestions for us. We brought it back and we did. I think we got a little bit of work done on it in January, February, and then we weren't able to meet in March because of lack of a quorum. April, the April vacation got in our way. February and April, our regular meeting time being the third Wednesday of the month, that happens to fall into the February and April vacation weeks, which is problematic for getting meetings scheduled. So anyway, here we are in May, and see if we can't wrap up the Trails Committee charge at least. That is made complicated by the fact that conservation and the land trust do the majority of the work on trails in this town. And the open space and recreation plan, when we were developing that, we had identified what we thought would be a need for some coordination of all the trails activity. So the several trail related action items we have, and if you don't have this in front of you, let me just quickly read through that. Inventory and map all open space trails, identifying their current condition, maintenance needed. Develop plan to ensure all coordinated trail data is made available to emergency services personnel. Identify gaps in the trail network that might be filled with new land acquisition. Develop an outreach program when planning the town-wide trails to secure cooperation of affected landowners. Create a Grafton trail loop and lay out preferred location and begin securing trail easements with affected property owners. Prioritize land acquisitions to purchase parcels that increase connectivity, and work with relevant town and regional organizations to develop a map of existing trails and proposed routes and conditions. Now, a fair amount of that basically describes the work that's already being done by conservation and the land trust. So the challenge in putting this Trails Committee idea together was to find a way to describe that such that the Trails Committee is not doing work that somebody else is already doing, that the Trails Committee is more coordinating that work.
Yep.
And in 2020 hindsight, I wish that we had thought this through a lot more when we were writing this plan and these action items, but we didn't. And yeah, by the time not to rehash ancient history so much, but all right.
So did,
My Zoom is okay. For some reason, my Zoom on my computer disconnected and reconnected.
you guys can still hear us?
Okay.
I mean, I think it looks quite good. I felt like I read somewhere, I'm just looking for it now, about Cause I know that the board was concerned because we mentioned, maintaining the trails. And that's not in here, right? That we would just be overseeing the maintenance, is that what it's stating?
Right, yeah,
I
I
read it
think,
earlier, but I think,
as best as I can remember, I was sort of in the middle of saying when the committee was putting together, the previous committee was putting together this plan. By the time we got to the point of creating the action plan, putting all the action items together, there was a definite, lack of really in-depth work on it. There was a lot of people coming and going from the committee. The staff who were primarily driving this had left.
Right.
So we were left basically feeling, oh, we just gotta get this done,
sure, yeah, it's fine.
So if I were to redo that today, I would approach it differently, but I was less. I was involved more just as a participant and not as a leader on that,
Yeah,
and then,
I mean, it's fine. So I think it's just, so the thing, we'll monitor trails and report conditions, maintenance needs and others. So it's good that we're gonna monitor, not lead the committee. It's not so much about actually doing the upkeep, right? There's nothing in here about that. I read it earlier and I thought for some reason it said somewhere that we would be involved or that the committee would be involved.
Yeah, so- right.
Did anyone else see it? Or no?
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
You just called me.
I just called you, yes, because I was not gonna be able to make it because my daughter had senior night, but I already did senior night.
Oh, so
And
here you
so
are.
I was
We're
like,
doing a hybrid. It's there's some people on
he's
Zoom.
in the hallway.
Yeah, he's gonna, we're letting him back in.
yeah.
He's
So-
like,
Can I
and
just
another
talk?
call, yeah.
I just called you because I declined the meeting because
I know it's gonna be freezing tonight.
how are you?
Okay, so anyway, so it doesn't say anything about maintenance, right? Like, I don't think.
Yeah, I just.
Just that
put-
we're gonna oversee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those on Zoom, I just put this draft charge on screen sharing. And let's this kind of goes through. So this draft proposal begins with just itemizing the action items
Yeah, that's great.
that were assigned to it. And that was one of the parts that, after this discussion at the select board late last fall, that would be helpful. To sort of, begin by introducing this is the reason for existence. So then we get into, it says, the committee shall be responsible for developing, enhancing, and overseeing the care of a trail system in Grafton and encouraging its use. That sounds like the committee itself is going to be doing all that, and so it's. Maybe we should say the
Right,
committee shall
I
be
think
responsible.
maybe that was the line, that was, yeah.
The committee shall be responsible for coordinating the development,
Yes.
enhancement, and care.
Yes, that's perfect. I know I saw it somewhere and I couldn't, I couldn't find it just now. Yeah, that's better. Coordinating. I think that was the only thing I had in terms of feedback. And then, not to jump ahead, but then down below where it says that the committee shall regularly monitor trails and report conditions, maintenance needs, and needed improvements. Like, again, maybe that,
Yeah, so let me just read back
Yep.
that first. The committee shall be responsible for coordinating the development, enhancement, and care of a trail system in Grafton and encouraging its use.
yeah, that's better for
So,
me.
yeah, that sounds more like what we had in
Yeah.
mind for the committee.
Yep.
Additionally, the committee shall explore ideas for interconnecting open spaces by working with the land trust, town boards, and departments on new trail development, negotiating trail usage and access with these and other organizations. Again, it's not so much this trail committee doing the exploration and so on, but working with,
Right,
and it kind of says that,
yeah, I think so. I think that paragraph is okay.
yeah, so
I think it's fine, so I can't share yours.
yeah, and then,
It's fine.
so there was another little aspect of that paragraph. It's that the last sentence, when trail additions or changes are proposed, the committee shall secure permission from the landowner or entity with jurisdiction. That's probably also something more like working with the other
Yeah.
organizations.
The Trails Commission Committee. Maybe. Can assist with. Securing permission or,
The committee shall assist as necessary in securing.
yeah,
Oh, I see, we're taking the verb out of it.
Well, so
In terms of
because-
like what our role is.
correct, because I think that was one of the concerns,
I
like, we're not
agree.
gonna be out there maintaining, again,
Yeah.
not we, but the Trails Committee, so if we,
But the only thing is, do we have the authority? Oh, just saying assist, we're not directing.
yeah.
Got it.
Right,
Yeah.
this trails committee is,
Overseeing.
it's an oversight. I think Stephen once described it as sort of a project management function.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, that's good, then we'll just switch that a little bit.
Yeah, so that, yeah, I think those two paragraphs largely describe what this committee is expected to do.
And then you got the structure, that's.
The structure, yeah, we went back and forth on some ideas for that, but where we landed last time we talked about it was the committee shall consist of 5 Grafton residents appointed by the select board for terms of 3 years, so a range that is nearly an equal number as possible expire each year. That's that last part,
Yep,
equal expiration each year, that's basically dictated by the charter. That's how all committees
yep,
have to
yep,
operate. It almost goes without saying, but
that's okay.
it doesn't hurt to say it. And, yeah, we had some previous ideas about being more specific about who, like designated representatives of other organizations beyond.
I don't think
the
we can
committee.
do that prescriptive.
Yeah, I
I mean, we
think,
can suggest, but I don't think we can prescribe who is going.
yeah, yeah, very, yeah, and a lot of times when we create a board or committee, we say that there needs to be a representative, like in this case,
Like this.
one might think, because of the connection to trails work, one might think that you would want a delegate from Conservation Commission to be on the Trails Committee and a delegate from the Land Trust to be on. And it's not uncommon for us to spell out
Right.
committee membership in ways like that. Say, you gotta have somebody from this board or that committee on this committee, but
But is
I'm
that our
comf-
goal to do that? Or is?
we.
I mean, we
if-
could.
If we thought it was sufficiently important,
Yeah,
I think, as I recall from some of our previous discussions, there was some concern that having a designated conservation commission representative on this committee could be difficult to get a conservation commission member to commit regularly to this.
Right.
So
I think leaving it, I think this is great.
I'm comfortable leaving it like this.
Yeah, and then, what you find is frequently the 5 people, some of them will be the folks from those organizations,
Yes.
because they have the interest anyways, yeah.
Yeah, so I think what we were looking for, and as best as I can remember, what we were thinking back when we were developing this plan was that the Trails Committee would be people who are really into trails.
Yeah,
And
okay, so moving on to the next part, then I
Let's
feel like,
see.
I mean.
yeah, so the membership will keep that simple. Duties, okay, with an earlier draft had us conducting meetings with according to applicable laws. That really goes without saying. We don't need to. Then we've got, the committee shall meet regularly to plan and review the proposal. Make this a little bit larger for the benefit of those who are watching this in Zoom. The committee shall meet regularly to plan and review proposed projects. Crossed out budgets, because budgets aren't this committee's clearly not this committee's responsibility. Yeah, that's not bad. Plan and review the proposed projects. Committee is strongly encouraged to enlist the help of volunteers. And there again, that's not. That's not so much the work of this committee, per se, all of this committee.
That's the thing, do you feel like we need to,
That's what I was thinking about. How prescriptive you're just making a suggestion. So
Yes, well,
could you just skip from duties on down? just go with the body and the top? Or do you feel like the duties should be delineated?
You know, I think I wouldn't mind if we
Keep those,
skipped. Leave out as much as we're comfortable leaving out.
yeah,
But again, just thinking about the role of this committee and more of a project management /
Yeah.
oversight.
about the right.
The committee is probably, well advised to leave these details up to whoever's actually doing work.
Well, I think you have to have some detail, because when you're trying to recruit, how would you know
Right,
what
but look
the
at-
responsibilities
Look at all
are?
this, like I'm saying, from the top down through, the structure. I think it's fairly well.
Is it repetitive then?
Well, I just think down here, you start to kind of really, pigeonhole it a little bit, you know?
I feel like just the top covers it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a bit of what you're saying, that you want this to describe the committee well enough to make people think they might want to be on it.
Yep.
Yeah,
But at the same time, we don't want this committee to sound like it's
so much
doing the
work.
work that someone else is already doing.
Right.
Anyone from home have any input?
Yeah, Patrick and Shannon and Trevor, feel free to speak up.
I would tend to agree with just deleting from duties on down. Because the tasks are already listed in the bullet points under mission and goals.
Yeah.
That's just my personal thinking.
Yeah, I liked the whole top of it as well.
Yeah, so if we would just cross out from duties on,
Yeah.
and just thinking that right, so going back up to the top, that this list of action items.
Mhm.
And these two paragraphs as we discussed them. Basically describing the committee's role, that's.
And then keep trails to structure too, you know, the 5 residents. whatever that is.
Right, the structure, yeah, that's something that, you know, if you're gonna create a committee,
Yep, yep.
you gotta know how many people are on the committee and if there are any particular membership
Yeah.
requirements.
So Stephen, we just made a couple little wording changes up top where it says, you know, to make it less specific about like the one line here, the committee shall be responsible for developing. I think what we changed it to was committee will oversee the development of blah, blah, blah.
I have
Yeah,
3 notes.
Yeah.
Under coordination and working partnership. We're partnering, we coordinate. Is that our role?
so we switched that one, that paragraph that the committee will shall be responsible, we switched that to responsible for overseeing the
Yes,
development. blah, blah, blah.
Right, overseeing what we're intending.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, just the way I've edited the paragraph based on our discussion. The committee shall be responsible for coordinating the development, enhancement, and care of a trail system there.
Yeah.
It's in line with what I started before you go.
That's right, and then we just were talking about just now, and Shannon, and I kind of agreed on just from duties down, just to get rid of that. Because it's pretty well delineated up top and just go through where we say, you know, the structure with the 5 people. And then below that is starting to get, you know, more and more specific, and we just probably
again,
don't.
right.
So taking that section out that says committee shall,
Yeah,
all right, good, because
Yeah.
I added the word coordination.
yeah,
And there.
that's what we started with, and then we were like, maybe we just don't
They
need
just
that.
don't put it in there.
Yeah, so basically what we were just
Yep.
zeroing in on was everything from that heading duties on down.
Right,
Eliminating that. Because again, that, some of those, as they're described in the current draft, they make it sound like this committee is doing a lot of that.
Exactly, I picked that up.
yeah, and did you also change where that when trail additions or changes are proposed, the committee shall? Did we change the
The
word?
committee shall secure permission, is that our
Yes.
goal?
We changed that though too.
Right, so
To
that,
oversee,
Okay, all right, good.
overseeing
Perfect.
the.
We're on the same
so
page.
the way that reads now. If I knew how to project my computer up
That's
on
okay.
that screen there, we could all see this, but
I'm good.
it didn't occur to me to see if I could do that. I know how to do that in the room downstairs, but.
No,
So anyways, we changed that a little bit too as well.
Anyway, so for your benefit,
should have left my notes with you.
that last sentence now reads, when trail additions or changes are proposed, the committee shall assist as necessary in securing permission from the landowner or the entity with jurisdiction.
So again,
So that again,
the
that's,
committee will be there to help and oversee, yeah.
Okay, good.
so it kind of acknowledges, you could argue perhaps that the sentence isn't even really necessary, but it does kind of acknowledge that, you know, new trails may require, you know, permission
Right.
from whoever owns them, and again, we're not asking this committee with the work of actually doing that, but assisting. I can imagine this committee's assistance could be necessary if we're looking at developing a trail that kind of crossed. Part of it was on conservation land,
Right.
part of it was on private land, part of it was on land.
That'd be the perfect time for
It's
this
coordinated,
committee. to be
exactly.
coordinated.
It's coordinated. Making sure everybody's communicating, and if we are aware,
Yes.
you're aware what everybody else is doing,
Mhm.
and if you're attending a meeting or listening, you can interject, what about this?
Mhm.
Did you think about this? The Conservation Commission is doing X, Y, Z.
All right, so anything, anyone have
Just that
anything?
it's appointed by the select board, so this is something that would be posted,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
these roles, okay.
Right, this is the usual way
Yeah.
most committees are.
Yeah.
formed.
Okay.
Just like this committee,
Yes,
with representation from other committees. Why wouldn't that be the same case?
Because I think we talked about that, and actually Dave brought this up, because
we discussed that with the,
getting the people
right, what we're.
pigeonholed.
Right, the way it's written right now is simply the committee shall consist of 5 Grafton residents appointed by the select board for terms of 3 years. Without saying anything about whether those committee members are representing other committees or other organizations.
And understand my hesitation or my step back on that when the town clerk is being appointed by who?
Mhm.
I love the town clerk being elected.
Yeah,
I was in favor of that,
yeah,
and now it's not.
right.
So
We're giving the select board way too much power, aren't we?
absolutely.
I know.
Yeah, let's take forward.
Eighty characters on
No,
it.
let them pick and choose their friends and relatives to fill these roles, and all of a sudden we're just beholden to
Yeah.
Please don't.
People like
Guidance.
people like.
or whomever. Or the Brooks.
Well, so the thing is, so folks on conservation, on recreation are already committed. So
Right.
you're asking then someone from your committee to be on another committee, it's
But I
just
think
gets
you have to
harder.
apply, like, I applied for a committee. and I
Well,
was-
so yeah, so the way we're leaving it is, sure, that'd be great. If someone for conservation,
Yeah,
someone
you
from
want to
Grafton
apply.
Land Trust.
Yeah,
And I thought you should all opt
That's
out.
my point.
So yeah, I think, this Trails Committee. It would be helpful to have someone on the Trails Committee. Who is either from the Conservation
Sure.
Commission or is involved with the Conservation Commission's trail work. Same with the Land Trust, and those are the two key organizations in town that are involved in managing the trail system. Yeah, REC has an interest in trail, but REC is more using the trails.
So hopefully it'll
Rec
invite
doesn't
invite people.
manage the
No,
trails.
they don't.
Hopefully it'll invite people like that, right? That
Yeah.
If you're on
But-
recreation, you might be interested in
Yeah,
it.
so I think, right, I think we're kind of, we've been thinking at least that the 5 members of this Trails Committee are gonna be people who are really trails people.
Said about trail, they want to do it.
They wanna do it.
Yeah,
And,
And then there's no money in it, so you're doing it out of your own goodwill.
Right, yeah.
So.
yes, the Trails Committee members get paid just as much.
yeah,
Just as much as planning board members
Business
or rec commission members get paid, same salary.
The benefit is enjoyment.
That's.
Damn to the public.
Yeah, and me not being a big trails person, I'm not gonna wanna be on this.
okay, so do we need to make a motion to?
I
move forward with
think
this, or
if
do we
we're,
just-
if we are, I'm just
I move that we accept.
delete the stuff that we
Oh,
were.
yeah, you're putting on your screen. I move that we accept the changes to said document and propose it to the select board.
I second it.
All right, moved and seconded is. Any discussion? I'm happy that we're finally getting this.
Very good
back done.
coordination.
Yeah. If you roll call. or something.
Yes. So with no further discussion, we'll vote by Since some of our members are attending the meeting remotely, they have to vote by roll call. So, me,
Yes,
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
David.
Yes.
Pat.
Did you say Patrick? Sorry. Yes.
And Shannon
Yes,
and Trevor.
Yes,
And Dave votes yes. Motion carried unanimously.
awesome.
We have a Trails Committee charged. I will clean up the document
Okay.
and send it around to everybody. You can review it just to make sure that that I didn't miss anything of what we discussed and agreed upon. And we'll take it to the
Yep.
her board.
Okay.
And, some future agenda.
Yep, I'll email them when I get it from you, then, and you guys all say yes, then I'll email them again on the agenda.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
That's-
Sorry, guys, I have one little spot of poison ivy that is completely distracting me. You see, but itching and distracted, that's what's going on over here.
I'm
Just one little thing, it's just driving me.
It doesn't, unfortunately.
Oh, that's why I can't be on the Trails Committee.
Can't be in the trails.
I can't, yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
sorry.
I don't react too badly to poison ivy, but Sue, she even thinks about poison ivy. She breaks
My
out.
wife was the same way. She
It's
just-
very
she said it was
distracting,
awesome.
that's all, I feel like I've been distracted all.
What else is on our agenda?
So the only other thing, well, there are two other items on the agenda. The second item is the open space and recreation plan land use action items.
Mhm.
Which is another piece that we are,
Wasn't sure what we have to do with that.
well, this is, yeah. Because I've been focused on other things, particularly looking at getting this trail thing tonight. I still have, I have a lot of notes about the land use action items. There is one aspect of that the planning department is looking to engage Central Mass Regional Planning on, a task related to prioritizing land acquisitions. So for better or for worse, I'm not prepared to spend a whole lot of time talking about it tonight. We've just briefly, to the best of my recollection, without consulting all my notes, which are still kind of haphazard, the open space and recreation plan, you know, wants to identify it as an action item to prioritize land acquisitions for open space conservation and recreation purposes, to evaluate existing tax title properties for possible acquisition. A couple of other things kind of related to that they didn't really fit into any other existing board committee.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided to adopt those as items that we as a committee will do some work on. One aspect of that, I need to check with, and see where she's at with what Central Mass Regional Planning is gonna do regarding that or any other action items. They should be working with us to some extent. Here again, if we can delegate that work to someone else, that's kind of our job, is to delegate the work to someone else and just kind of keep an eye on it. One aspect of that I really haven't gotten myself up to date on is that there are a number of parcels of land that were intended to become conservation land or protected open space as part of subdivision developments. There are a few cases where that intent was never followed through. So we've got a couple of parcels of land up this back road.
But old institute though, is there any protection?
There is some, the new development.
That development.
Right, there is,
Definitely
there is,
that
right,
for-
there is some land there that is, right, there is some land there that is going to be protected open space. Not yet, because that doesn't typically happen until the subdivision is all done. But there's some older subdivisions that are on
Who
acres.
enforces that?
Right.
Who enforces that when you said it hasn't been done?
For the most part, we rely on the developer to complete that. As part of checking for completeness, which, before we accept roads from a subdivision, we're supposed to verify that everything has been done. Somewhere in that process, the town should be verifying that actually got done. That doesn't always happen.
But I mean, if it's the developer, that's box watching.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Like, oh wait, I have to put what, one more little, if I could throw in another house here, or who's gonna check my? I just
Yeah.
get curious, that if that's not an open space, that's not our responsibility. It would be the planning board.
Well, the
Yeah.
planning board, they gave them the stipulations, or you guys came up with whatever you came up with, and then they, the graces the builder goes. And you would hope and expect that they're following
Yeah,
your
if
expectations.
if the town is doing this job right. In reviewing the subdivision for completeness, we won't accept the roads until everything's done. We're pretty particular about the condition of the roads and everything. And it take quite a while before we can assess every road. And what we should be doing, and mostly we do, I think. But there have been, the cases I'm thinking of, they're mostly, date back to the 90s, 80s, 90s. Where, for whatever reason, we didn't follow through, the developer didn't follow through on their own. Most of the time, it does happen that the land gets properly either handed over to the town, accepted by the town as open space or otherwise protected. Or developer retains ownership and gives us a conservation restriction, or they transfer ownership to the town, and then a conservation restriction is held by the land trust. There's several different ways that happens.
I know it's on Sunrise, is that what you're talking about? Like over in Sunrise, it was supposed to be a park put in there and then not by the developer.
Yeah, there are a few places that were intended to be there. There's one place in there, a lot of acres. Canyon Gardens, there's a little parcel there that was, it's supposed to be a top line. There's another couple of parcels in that same subdivision that were supposed to be.
Well, it's like constant method, right, for Rachel, like they have the one the big
Yes.
there,
Yeah,
so that is probably in the of that.
Yeah.
Or that would be for.
So anyway, in compiling the inventory of open space for the open space rec plan that we completed a couple years back. But I ran across a few of these instances of land that I guess it was intended to be transferred to the town and protected, and never did. And one of the things that we could do is it's one of the things that's kind of loosely included in that land use act, is to review those and make a recommendation that the town follow up on that and work with whoever the present owner of that is.
Right.
To get that little detail taken care of. If we think those particular parcels are sufficient value for us to invest the time and effort to do whatever key research and whatever else has to be done from a legal perspective to acquire ownership. And then there's sort of closely related to that are tax title properties that someone is behind on their taxes. And we, in some cases, we've taken some tax title properties, we own them, but they're just town-owned land and no particular protection. We can review some of those to see if it's worth turning them into protected open space or recreation land. Some of them are not going to be, it's like maybe a half acre or an acre of land. That just, yeah, the town owns it, but
No connection anywhere else.
but it's not useful as, it has no particular value as either recreation land or conservation land.
Right.
But we could look at some of those things too. And it's on my list of things, I kind of got the data, I just haven't sort of assembled it in a way that would be conducive to us reviewing it. That's part of that land use activity that I think we could do.
Okay. I know that the select board goals that they haven't fully been established yet, but one of them, we talked about this very thing, or not in this detail, but our goal would be to try to help facilitate, looking at this, like the land that's available in town and trying to make, recommendations potentially, but it's very loose. It's not that specific, but at least I think it's going to be, one of our goals, which should help if they.
Is there a covenant like to say, X amount of land needs to be open space or conservation or rec. No, there's no, like affordable housing, it's 10% of all the homes. So it's, there's nothing that guides that.
There's nothing comparable to that for open space recreational land.
I just thought when you're talking about goals, to have it
Right,
associated with a metric like that would be.
right, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's,
not really.
yeah, it's hard. I would think it would be rather difficult to come up with a metric for how much recreation land do we need in town?
Yeah.
How much forest do we need to preserve? How much open space do we need to conserve? And how much, you know, and how much conservation, there's several different sort of values to open space. Active recreation, passive recreation, forests. Or, you know.
I mean, part of the
habitat
charge,
that's not necessarily forest, so.
part of the charge in the trails thing, though, I think will help because it talked about, you know, looking at all of the land and trying to see, like, you know, like in Westboro, they're trying to make that whole emerald thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's,
they'll be doing that. The Trails Committee might be looking at that, right?
yeah, so this, you know. Our work in trying to pull some of that is gonna be in part trying to pull some of that together. The Trails Committee, working with the other trail organizations now, can identify places where it would be valuable to add to our trail network.
Yep.
And Rec Commission can identify places where we could use more land for recreation of various types. And conservation can identify places where we may need more conservation. Land for various conservation purposes, habitat, forest, other preservation.
Well, maybe we kick that down, you know, the road a little bit and let him in,
Yeah.
no rush, you pull
Yeah,
together
we'll,
some
you know,
stuff you
right,
already have.
we'll continue working on that. Like I said before,
Yeah.
you know, Fiona is looking to
Right.
engage Central Mass Regional Planning in an activity relative to or involving prioritization of land acquisition. So I will want to coordinate with that.
Yep.
If they're gonna do, whatever they're gonna do, we don't need to try to do it ourselves.
No, that sounds good. Have them come and tell us what they're doing.
What do you do?
Oh, you're doing it? Awesome.
So our goal as a committee is to do as little work as possible.
Let's get it up.
Dave, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So if we were interested in learning more about that, what Fiona's doing with the Mass Central Planning, what meetings should we go to or where should we look for more information on that? Because I'd love to follow that a little bit more closely.
Yeah, right now there isn't, Fiona had mentioned to me that she's been in touch with Central Mass Regional Planning about that, but I don't yet know, you know, where that activity is, if there's anything happening there at all. It may at this point just be a line item saying, here's some work we're gonna do.
I mean, I can follow, I'm happy to shoot her an email and follow up and just say that we've got some folks in this committee that are really interested in, because as you know, Shannon, I'm really interested in this as well. So and just say, is anything happening, and if and when, let us know.
Yeah, I know, I did inform Fiona that this committee is
Great,
needs to be part of that,
yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll, yeah, I mean, yeah, Anne Marie, you can follow, you know, I'll follow, I'll be following up with, you know.
Yeah, okay,
And
let us know.
I get into, work with, you know, Fiona for a lot of things, so,
Mhm.
yeah, that is something, but I think, you know, as far as this committee is concerned, you know, my attention has been mostly focused on
Yeah, great,
wrapping up this trails committee thing.
Yep.
And I think we're finally.
Definitely,
We are
we
finally
did
there.
that task.
So do we have any minutes? That was on the agenda, but do we have minutes to review or no?
Right. the last-
I apologize. That was on me to send the minutes out and I unfortunately did not get to it. So I will type those up and get them out as soon as possible.
Okay,
Yeah, so we'll plan on reviewing minutes at our next meeting.
okay. So
which-
I will, so sorry, Dave, so you'll send me or you send everybody, sorry, the little updated.
Yeah, I'll send
charge.
around the updated.
And then once I get that, I'll email the whoever's chair of the board, get it on the agenda, and then I'll let you all know when that is, when we're on the agenda for something.
And so unless we have reason to do it differently, I'll assume that we'll plan our next meeting for the third Wednesday in June.
Okay,
And, I know our meetings have been a little bit spotty over the last few months, and fortunately, the work we're doing is not really time sensitive.
yeah. Well, hopefully by then it'll have been before the board,
Yeah.
the trails thing anyways, then we can see what's going on with the
Yeah,
CMRPC.
between now and the next meeting, it wouldn't hurt for you to follow up with Dylan as well. to
Sure, I will.
if you want
Yeah,
to.
Yep.
And I'll definitely be following it, and I'll try to make a little progress and collect together the other ideas and stuff I have, but
Yeah.
maybe something we can, begin to sink our teeth into.
Great. All
Other
right,
than
so,
that, we're depending on everybody else to do all their work on all the action items, and
That's a good position to be in.
we, at the end of the year, we will ask them for whatever progress they made, we'll put together another report. That other thing, that report I sent around, by email, just itemizing the action item status, I had meant to get that done a couple, 3 months ago, but anyway, we'll put that up on our webpage, so that
Okay.
it's available, visible to the public.
okay,
To show that, here's what we've done, here's what we did last year on the open space and recreation action items. And it's, you look at it, it's mostly no action or nothing much, but,
hopefully, like you said, next year there'll be more.
yeah.
Okay,
We
so-
can hope, so
move to adjourn? Second.
I do believe I heard a motion and a second to adjourn.
Second,
I'd like to say all in favor, all in favor, say aye, but I can't do that on a Zoom meeting.
Emery, aye.
Hi.
Elizabeth, Stephen, aye. Patrick,
Yes.
Shannon,
aye.
Trevor,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thank
This
you very
is
much.
Thank you.